Emperor Mark McGowan, I couldn't care less if you give me 1,000 polls that show 110% of people think everything that falls out of his mouth is amazing. I believe that people should be able to freely move around our own country. He openly said today, essentially, he wants to trap people in Western Australia, so that keeps the Western Australian economy going, as opposed to the logic of them being part of the wider country. Because I hate to break this to you, Emperor, despite the fact that, of course, you carry on like the born and bred WA man, he's from New South Wales, is your passport doesn't stop just in Western Australia. Your Medicare card doesn't stop in Western Australia. The cricket team doesn't only play at the Wacker. Come on, this stuff's rubbish. Anyway, here's part of what he said today, doubling down on why he should keep the borders closed. Remember, it's all political. He wants to win an election in March.
Honestly, the benefit to opening to the Northern Territory or South Australia for Western Australia is not there. There is no benefit.
Fair dinkum. Liza Harvey is the WA opposition leader. She joins us now from Perth. Liza, thank you very much for joining us. The simple game they want to play is they want it to be binary. We're hardcore on borders. If you talk about anything to do with exemptions to borders, you're apparently all for people with a cough moving directly from hotel quarantine in Melbourne to the streets of Perth. But I think we all know there's a little bit more subtlety to all of this. What do you think of what the Premier said today? And essentially this, I'm going to trap people in Western Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me on the show. It was a big shock to Western Australians today to hear that there's actually an economic rationale behind this decision-making. We've been told as a community that the borders have been closed based on the best health advice available and that it's necessary to keep us free and safe from COVID-19. Clearly today the Premier deviated quite significantly from that and said that there is actually an economic imperative in doing this, in trapping Western Australians in WA to spend their money here and making sure they don't take it to any other states. So it's a significant deviation. He has tried to back away from it. And once again, as an opposition, we're calling for the Premier, provide us with this health advice. Now, I know how health bureaucrats work. They would have given the Premier 2 to 3 different options with a risk assessment for each option. And as a public and a community, we have a right to know what that information is. It's our information. It should be shared with us, so we understand why these borders are in place.
But also the absurdity that nothing can be changed unless there's 28 days of nothing in the rest of the country, all right? Well, that's already been achieved in the Northern Territory and South Australia. It's being achieved in some other places, yet the line doesn't move. And when the Premier comes out today and explains why the line doesn't move, apart from the politics, you can't change this midstream. Now, I know most people have drunken the Kool-Aid, they're all falling for it, the local paper's cheering them on, I get all of that crap, OK? But if you say, I've made a decision for this reason, you can't change it to another reason.
Well, that's it. He has said previously that we need to have 28 days of no community spread in any other jurisdiction before we can open up, and that has to be in place for any jurisdiction that might open to another jurisdiction. So it's all very vague, and that's why we keep saying provide the medical advice so that we can understand why these decisions have been made. Because, Paul, every day of the week now I'm getting inundated with frustrated emails from people with really sad stories. You know, families that are separated, there's significant mental health issues out there in our community as a result of this. We've got families right around our country who do not know if they'll be able to be together this Christmas. They don't know if they'll be able to be together before the March election. And we're hearing now that we might have our borders closed until next September. So when you're looking at business continuity, businesses going to the wall, you know, they need to understand what their future looks like. And we keep saying, provide the health advice and also explain to us why there's now an economic rationale in economic protectionism in place, keeping these borders up in Western Australia. Why is there now an economic rationale and not just a medical reason? Because Western Australians do prioritise our health. If it was clearly a health reason, we would support that, and that's why people have supported the borders. But if this is some quasi-economic protectionism, I don't think Western Australians will be very happy with that. Well, the Premier really does need to explain it.
Yeah, one hopes. Thank you so much, Liza. Do appreciate it.